Hey guys, it's Justin again with another video. This is going to be a basics video on weathering. When you weather your models, there's really not a lot of rules. You can basically do anything that you want, but if you want a weathered model to look good, first you need to consider a few different things and take a few different steps, especially when painting, to make sure that your weathering stands out as best it can. Before we jumped into this video, I want to thank my patrons Andy and Gilbert for helping sponsor this video. If you're interested in helping me create content, there's information in the description below and at the end of this video, so stay tuned. The first step when weathering a model is to determine what type of weather you want to do. If there's any kind of physical damage or texture that you want to add to your model, it's best to do that before you apply any kind of paint. Likewise, I like to create a little variation in the model's surface. I do this by applying a dark colored base coat, and in a similar fashion to post shading, which I'll go over in another video, I'll add spots of color across the surface to make the main color of the model look uneven, as if the paint has started to wear away or fade in some areas. I find this really helps sell the effects. Next, I recommend applying chipping and wearing down your decals. This is going to be your first layer of damage, be it your mobile suit taking damage in battle or the effects of weather or simply coming into contact with outside sources that might scratch your paint. Chipping is going to happen on models like this. With this, I use a tiny piece of sponge and dip the end of it in paint. I dab most of it also onto a napkin, and I start around the sharp corners and edges where I think paint might chip off. In this step, less is definitely more. Start with small amounts and look at the model and decide if you want to add more effects until you reach the effect that you're looking for. The next thing I'm going to do is apply pigments. After the last step, we're going to apply a matte coat to the entire model. The reason I choose matte coat is because there's a slight texture to it, and it lets us apply pigments and other effects that'll stick better to the model this way. To choose my colors, I think about the kind of weathering that I'm going to apply, and in this example I'm going to be using blacks, browns, some oranges, and a little bit of green. These are going to simulate soot, dirt, dust, a little bit of rust, and add further variation to my mobile suit's main color. I shave the pigment from these colors off with a modeling knife and apply them with brushes and Q-tips. Then work them into the surface just a little bit, and when I'm finished I'll apply another matte coat to lock in everything that I've done. The last thing we're going to talk about in this video is these new weathering pens that I found at Hobby Lobby. They're Model Masters enamel paints used for various effects. The ones I picked up are black, rust, mud, and earth. We're not going to use the rust one in this model as it isn't really the effect that I'm going for. I kind of went over a little bit of that with the pigments. We don't really need any more than that. The others will work well though. For the black, I think of where soot and things of that nature would collect, such as around the exhaust areas and on the ends and in between the power tubing on the head. I also do some light spotting around the top of the helmet to create some subtle color unity across the entire model. I do the same thing using the same thought process with the remaining colors, and when they're still not dried, I dampen a Q-tip with lighter fluid or enamel thinner and drag the paint downwards to create subtle streaking effects and bring everything together. So those are all the effects that I'm going to talk about in this video. There's so much more you can do to bring your models to life. Maybe in the future we'll touch on more effects, but I didn't want this video to run too long. Hopefully you enjoyed the video as well as the final product. I had a lot of fun working on this little Zaku. It was a relatively simple model kit, and I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to get into resin. Most of the parts are pretty straightforward and easy to figure out. It's really simple to figure out what goes where, and you don't really need a whole lot of pinning, which is a huge plus for somebody who's new to resin. Finally, if you liked my video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like and shared it with your friends. And if you want to further support my channel, maybe consider subscribing. I have a t-shirt store and a Patreon link in the description of the video, and all proceeds from these platforms go towards content for this channel. Thank you guys so much and have a great day.